Hello, folks. Welcome to the Crime Dawg podcast. I'm your host, Johnny FIORICA, retired detective with the Rochester, New York Police Department after serving 30 years. I am joined by my trusted co-host, David Simpson, also a retired detective with the Rochester, New York Police Department. Folks, we sit before you today with a ton of experience and a wealth of knowledge, but if you want to research what David and I accomplished over the course of our careers, you can go to our bios on our YouTube channel. That's at Crime Dawg Podcast, where you found this video. Or you can check out our bio on our website, which is thecrimedawgpodcast.com. While you're also there, you can check out our cool merch store. David, welcome to the podcast, bro.
I am buckled up and ready to go, Johnny.
Yeah, we got to talk about some things today. At the end of the day, we saw some stuff on social media in the last couple of days regarding an incident. The incident actually happened, I believe, anywhere from 12 to 18 months ago. It was an accident, what we call an MVA, with a police-involved cruiser, a licensed siren car, a blue and white, whatever you want to call it, on Park Avenue. And some of the keyboard warriors around town in upstate New York want to make or pitch a bitch about what happened. We just felt like we wanted to address a couple things. We shoot it down the middle, like we said all the time, David. But basically, Officer Torres was responding to a bridge jumper a couple years ago, and he was driving down Park Avenue. He was going what we call 77, which is code for lights and sirens, when a car pulled in front of him and he got into an accident. When you're going lights and sirens and a car pulls in front of you, of course, you're going to deem it, for people that are anti-cops, as the cop rear-ended the guy. Well, he was going lights and sirens. This happened over a year ago, but it picked up some steam on social media, on the twits, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And the losers at the Democrat and Chronicle, of course, picked up on it, and they got the PAB involved because the Police Accountability Board, David, as you know, did a ton of investigations some months ago, did a whole bunch of recommendations based on their quote-unquote investigations on some of the RPD incidents that our brothers and sisters were involved in. They offered a plethora of disciplinary measures for those incidents that they allegedly reviewed. I've talked to numerous officers, and the outcome that was derived by the PAB and the discipline attached to that outcome are just totally unrealistic, and it goes against what has gone on historically with the RPD. The RPD, I think, does a good job nowadays, not in my generation. They were totally one-sided and anti-cop in our internal affairs days. But anyways, I think they do a good job today parsing out what goes on, especially since we got body-worn cameras and other video out there. So there's no BS going on like there was BS going on in our day with internal affairs, but that's a story for another day. Anyways, the article apparently touched upon some disciplinary recommendations by the PAB for Officer Torres that they wanted Chief Smith to lay on him. It's my understanding Officer Torres was disciplined for it, and the discipline that I had heard that he received is kind of consistent with incidents like this. It's something that we call command discipline. I think it was a training memo. That's what we had heard. But anyways, I'm not giving up anything that's regarding the investigation that the RPD did. That's what I just heard through locker room talk. Anyways, the bottom line is, David, you and I both have been involved in accidents with police cruisers. That's what proactive cops do. We get into accidents. It's part of the game. But the department in these instances almost always finds some level of responsibility on the part of the officer, hence the memo that Officer Torres, we assumed he received. For those keyboard warriors out there, you tough guys that don't know, when you're driving fast in a police car, regardless if you have your emergency equipment activated, I mean, you're doing a ton of stuff at that time. Okay. First of all, you're driving fast. Secondly, you're listening to the police radio. Additional information's coming on the call that you're going to. In your head, you're continually mapping out the best and fastest route to get there to go help the person or persons that need your help, because seconds and minutes matter in our business. You're going through scenarios in your head on how you're going to plan on handling the call when you get there, and you're doing all this mental juggling as you're going on, all while driving pretty darn fast. David, the social media keyboard warriors that want to torch Officer Torres for this, are the same ones that are anti-police no matter what we do, right?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, you're a city cop. They give you lights and sirens and a police car to go to calls in a timely fashion. And certainly when it's a matter of life and death, which this call was for a suicidal male that was about to jump. I don't know what other time you wouldn't activate your emergency lights and get there as fast as possible. So if you're going to bash this kid, then obviously we shouldn't even have lights and sirens on the car, and we shouldn't even be proceeding to these calls. We should let him jump. Because when he gets there, whenever we get there, and by then he's probably going to have already jumped, because seconds matter. And it doesn't matter whether it's a jumper, whether it's a baby choking, whether it's, a shooting, and there's an active shooter with a man with a gun. All of these things need a response that's done as fast as humanly possible. And you can't do that without some danger that goes along with that. Accidents will happen. It's part of the business. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be pretty. I've been to driving school. I've been in plenty of accidents similar to this. I apologize for absolutely none of them. I was doing the best I could to help the citizens of Rochester. And if I bumped into a car, if someone got injured, I've run into a house, any of those things that happened, I was doing the best I could. Nothing was intentional, and I was trying to do my job to the best of my abilities, exactly like this officer was. So he should be commended for trying to get there to help someone, not persecuted for driving fast in the city.
Yeah, it's so funny. I got my little notes here, and I was like, Officer Torres was going to a call instead of, and getting into an accident. It happens, man. Officer Torres, listen, bro, it happens. We've all been there. All great cops have been there. I praise you for wanting to get there to help, and don't ever stop, okay? Don't ever stop being the one who wants to get there to help first. Instead of going after Officer Torres, maybe they should praise him for not hiding behind a dumpster playing Candy Crush or FaceTiming with his significant other like some cops do, okay? And they hide. Officer Torres wasn't hiding. He was going out there trying to help the community. In this particular instance, David, like you stated, trying to help someone that was suicidal and trying to kill themselves on a bridge. Listen, you could say all you want, people. You're wrong. We're right. You're wrong. We're right. Let me say it again, okay? In this instance, we're right because here's the deal. Everybody loves a taste of sausage. Nobody wants to see it made. David says it all the time. Police work is ugly. This is one of the ugly parts of police work. Yes, we drive fast. Yes, we're allowed to drive fast. Yes, by driving fast and going to help people, sometimes things happen like mistakes. Like the person that pulled in front of Officer Torres. It was a mistake. They didn't do it on purpose. I'm sure they didn't. Okay, that's why we call them accidents. At the end of the day, we say police work is ugly. And another thing, you wanted body-worn cameras, you wanted more responsibility and transparency on the end of the police officers. Here it is, folks. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Go down Park Avenue. Go pull. If you want to be proactive, go pull all the videos down Park Avenue from all the businesses. At the end of the day, this was something that Officer Torres did in the course of his duties. It happens. And I'll tell you another thing. It's easy for people to second guess a cop when something like this happens because you don't know. You're not in the game. You don't get it. When I read stuff like this, I can imagine, because I was a proactive, aggressive cop, I know exactly what Officer Torres was thinking. I know exactly what he was feeling because I've sat in that position. I've been in a cop car. I'm going lights and sirens. I've done it multiple hundreds and hundreds of times, going over the course of my career fast to go help people. I know what his heart rate felt like. I know what he was thinking in his head. You don't. You don't. So before you want to talk about everything that you think Officer Torres did is wrong, you can't do what Officer Torres did because you don't have the courage. You don't have the spine. You don't have the backbone. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the know-how. Basically, you don't have the balls to do what he did. So sit back, do what you do, which is nothing. You're a keyboard warrior, and let the grown men and women of the Rochester Police Department act like they act because they know what they're doing. Sometimes we make mistakes. We'll be the first one to tell you we make mistakes. But we're not going to sit here and get punched like a punching bag. And guess what? This is why David and I are here. We ain't going to take it. The cops got to take it because they're under a gag order with their general orders. We ain't taking it. When incidents like this, you can guarantee us that we're going to jump on a pod. We're going to talk about it. Okay? We're going to talk about it, and we're going to defend our brothers and sisters because they're the ones with the courage going out there to fight crime and do good for this community. What says you, David?
Well, another point that they were bringing up that it was Park Avenue. Listen, there's no difference between Park Avenue and Jefferson Avenue. All right. It's got a traffic. It's got businesses. It's got a lot of foot traffic. We work in an urban environment. There are no open raceways for police officers to be able to drive.
Yeah, there's no bike lane.
We don't work in highway patrol or anything like that. We work in an urban environment. We're driving on avenues and side streets and alleys hundreds of times a shift. And, I was in 22 years, I was in a number of accidents. But comparatively to the number of accidents I had, to the times I drove lights and sirens and FASTA calls, we're talking about 1% of the time I was involved in an accident. So what, am I not supposed to respond to these calls? I'm not supposed to go lights and sirens? Like you said, I'm supposed to hide out? Because like I always say, when you have no cases, in other words, you do nothing, there's no trouble.
Yeah.
The keyboard warriors don't look for the guy that's hiding behind the dumpster or that does nothing.
Yeah.
They just skate through till pension time.
Yeah.
But the guys, the men and women who are out there trying to help people, trying to catch bad guys, trying to do the right thing, they're the ones that are opening themselves up to this nonsense. And they're the ones that should be getting praised because they're actually trying. Okay? They're trying to do the right thing. And I always say it, and I'll say it for the 100th time. Police work is a dirty business. Yeah. People get punched in the face. People get shot. Cars get damaged. Accidents happen. It's not always pretty. We don't live in utopia. Okay? This job is a dirty business, and sometimes these things happen, but the percentage of the times that it happens compared to the amount of calls for service that people take is very minimal, and the lives are saved countless times with none of this happening. This individual was punished. He received command discipline, okay, which is totally in line with what happens, and he will probably receive some training on it, and you move on. Okay. Right. But you want this kid out there protecting you. Trust me, folks. You want this kid in a blue and white. Right. You want him answering that call. Because when someone's in your house and trying to get there, that kid's going to do everything he can to get there. He's not going to be hiding. Okay. So you want this kid there. So you better not punish him too much because you don't know who might not come.
Yeah. That's a good take, David. And by the way, for the record, and we'll close this out by saying we offered the PAB, right? We called the director. We spoke to, quote unquote, her assistant. They respectfully declined. She don't want to come on. We had another person that's involved with the PAB. I say person because I'm not going to give up their gender like I've said before so they could narrow down who it is. But we offered people to come on from the PAB. They refused. One person that we did reach out to, they said that they would come on and have a dialogue with us. Apparently that got shot down. Wonder why, folks. I will tell you this. If you're watching this video right now and you don't like what me and David are saying, you could reach out to us. Reach out to us on all our platforms. We get all the contact. Comment on this video. Give us your contact information. We'll have you on the podcast. Let's have a spirited dialogue. Let's talk about it. I doubt you will. Because like my good Jewish friends in Brighton say, you don't have the chutzpah. Or like my cousin Ronnie says, you ain't got the sack. Or like my other cousin Ricky says, you ain't got the balls. That's what it comes down to. We're not trying to have an aggressive conversation here, folks. Here's what we're trying to say. Keep your mouth shut if you don't know what you're talking about, okay? If you want to have a dialogue and a discussion on how we do police work, that's a totally different conversation. But when you get aggressive and you try to be a tough guy with guys like Officer Torres who can't talk to you and respond to you, but we can, we will stand in front of him and have the aggressive conversations with you because we can, because we're retired. But when we offer our platform to you, nobody takes it. And David, I wonder why that is. You and I both know why. Anyways, folks, listen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Click like and subscribe on this podcast. If you can't get enough of us, you can check us out on our Crime Dawg live show. That's every Saturday, noon to 1 on iHeartRadio, Wham 1180 if you're Rochester local. You can check us out at the Crime Dawg live show. You can check us out on our YouTube channel. Check us out anywhere you want. Well, we appreciate you tuning into this podcast. We hope you stick around with us for future podcasts. But like my brother-in-law, Frankie Grassi, says, if you can't make it, who cares?